So a few weeks ago, I had the opportunity to meet up with a veteran-owned organization called Team Overland in Southern Oregon for a one-night adventure. Unlike a lot of my trips though, this required a 500-mile drive each way, there and back, up Friday night and back Sunday night in order to make it. So obviously, you may be wondering, well, why would you drive 1,000 miles in order to make a one-night trip? It's a valid question. And the reason is because as I read about what Team Overland's mission is and what their events are all about, I knew this was something that was close to my heart, an event that I had to attend, if for no other reason, so that I could document it and share it with you all via YouTube and the one platform that I have in order to further their cause. So Team Overland, again, a veteran-owned organization. They are a non-for-profit, and their sole mission is to use the outdoors as an outlet for veterans who may be suffering from physical or mental disabilities associated with their service, such as PTSD, to help them kind of reintegrate with society, as well as veterans that maybe not, but are struggling to reintegrate with civilian life, to bring that camaraderie that we're so used to in the military. They cook all the meals, they provide guides. What was really cool about it is sitting around the campfire talking to guys, with a artillery background or with a mechanic background or infantry background. Everyone has their own individual story. Being in the military currently, it's something that I can definitely relate to. I went up there with the full intention of filming it kind of like I filmed every other adventure, where I take you along for my individual process and my individual experience being in the outdoors. But once I got there and started talking to these guys, I realized that there's really a bigger story here. And it's what's cool about it is not about what I'm doing, but about the whole group coming together and the cohesion and the bond that you form just by hanging out with guys with similar background. Don't get me wrong, they are not veterans only. There's a ton of civilians there with no military background. And as long as you're there to support the cause, they are all happy to have you guys. So let's take a look and I'll talk you through our awesome weekend with Team Overland. Around 12 vehicles showed up at our rally point at a gas station in Shady Cove, Oregon. Once our trail guides arrived, we followed them northeastbound into the Umpqua National Forest. A few of the trail guides had already set up a base camp the night prior, so once we arrived, we were told to gear up, air down, and get ready to head out on our snow-wheeling adventure. We had a huge diversity of vehicles in our group, with everything from Jeep JKs like mine to Tacomas, 4Runners, FJ Cruisers, and full-size trucks. Everything from bone stock to 37-inch tires and 4-inch lifts. Team Overland requires that at a minimum, each vehicle has front and rear recovery points. As we soon learned though, it was incredibly valuable that many of us also had winches, tow straps, and snatch blocks to get us out of trouble. As we continued our climb up the mountain over the course of a couple hours, the snow depth changed from just a few inches to upwards of 3 feet in some areas. We quickly realized that especially with the stock vehicles, turning around now was going to be our best option. Unfortunately, turning around was what got us in the most trouble. With a total of 13 vehicles, our light wheeling trip turned into a recovery 101 class. Specifically for me, I learned the importance of making sure that the tree you picked to winch off of is actually up for the job.
Ooh, that's great.
Finally, using multiple vehicles, multiple winches, and multiple tow straps, as well as a ton of teamwork, we were able to get the Explorer unstuck and turned around, heading back down the mountain. With 12 other vehicles to turn around, what I wasn't counting on was going from being part of the solution to part of the problem.
It's a little deep. We're like 3 inches from frame.
You're not stuck.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you're not stuck.
You can back up.
We went ahead and hooked up the winch to try to lift myself out of the hole, but unfortunately it just dug my front end deeper. Here, I learned another valuable lesson. In the snow, a winch may not be the end-all be-all of recovery gear. And traction boards, well, they're worth their weight in gold. We had awesome teamwork with everyone coming right to my rescue to help me dig out my Jeep and get the traction board set. Once we had them wedged under the tires, it was easy enough just to reverse right out of the hole I was in. This kind of recovery is where my Eaton TrueTrack limited slips really show their value. Even if one traction board doesn't catch a tire on a given axle, the torque still gets transferred to the other tire via torque biasing, and the Jeep is able to drive itself right out of the hole.
Can I keep going?
After about a 50-point turn, I was able to get my Jeep turned around and heading back down the mountain. It was far from an uneventful trip back to base camp, with multiple vehicles getting stuck in ruts and needing to be pulled out. Thankfully though, we ended up with no broken vehicles and with a ton of memories and knowledge gained from the experience. Once we arrived at camp, everyone made quick work of getting their sites picked and tents set up, as we could practically taste the homemade chili over the crisp of the winter air. Of course, the only logical place for me to set up camp was right next to the other iCamper owner. After getting set up, I had to take a moment to take in the view of this incredible spot that Team Overland had found us on the Union Creek. While the rest of us were getting camp set up, the trail guides went straight to work getting the food ready and 2 massive fires built for us to enjoy. Huge shout out to Heather and Quint for the chili, the cornbread, and the amazing cobbler to round out the meal, as well as an unlimited supply of Warfighter Pale Ale for us to enjoy. We spent the night drinking the ice-cold beer and sharing war stories from our past and present. Everyone had a different experience and background, yet we all shared in one common bond. The next morning, Heather, Quint, and Bobby had breakfast burritos and coffee queued up for us as we enjoyed the last few hours of the trip. With an 8-hour drive ahead of me, I packed away my gear and traded the snow and dirt roads for miles and miles of highway ahead. If you love the overland community like I do, but also want to make a difference, Team Overland is the way to do it. Military, civilian, active or retired, you're welcome here. To find out about future events, as well as ways to help contribute, search Team Overland on both Facebook and Instagram. Thanks again to Heather, Quint, Bobby, Jason, Sam, and all the trail guides for making this whole event possible. And thank you, the subscriber, for coming along. I'll see you on the next adventure.